Yeah, I see. Okay,
Yeah.
cool. Right. Okay, yeah. Where did we come from about podcasting? Right?
Oh, yeah, you were asking how it felt to release the first episode.
Oh
And
yes.
yeah, I mean,
Yes.
I think from there too, we saw it as more of like something important that we're sharing. It's not that we were like
Yeah.
naive to the discussions, but I genuinely think that we felt like, okay, these are just like our personal experiences. Like, we don't think anyone's going to really listen. But then over time, we started getting like
Right.
these lovely messages and people saying they loved the friendship between us. They also related to the stories of queerness
Mm,
and having that person as a safe space too, like growing up in my 20s and having like a really close person to me where I could openly talk about these things. I just think it resonated with more people than we thought it would. And that
yeah.
inspired us to reach out to others to actually have as guests on the podcast so we could also not just share our stories and my
Right.
queer experiences, but also open up to other people and have them share their queer experiences if they were comfortable. So it kind of led to just more and more connecting. And that's ultimately like how I see Girl on Girl is a safe space for queer
Mm.
people. And I love the community. It's brought in for sure, which has been
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, because you have okay, I'm just gonna put this phone on again. Sorry. Um, you have had some pretty like awesome guests on the podcast also I saw lately. Like
yeah.
in terms of singers and artists in general.
Yeah, and that's like been really nice because I love hearing other people's stories and also like I
Yeah.
grew up with like b being younger, I grew up with queer media, so really resonating with
Mm.
those people's stories and it felt nice to kind of have them on the podcast to tell their story. Like I always talk about Lauren Kittens Abedini is actually a good example because when I was a little younger, I think like 23 or 22. I think when I first discovered
Mm.
kittens on Instagram, and I really resonated with her because she's POC and she's a lesbian. And I was like, oh, this is great. She's also very femme presenting. So it was kind of a full circle moment to have
Right, right.
resonated with her and her story and then actually have her on Girl, which was awesome. Like I think it's led us to some great connections, which makes me happy.
Yes. Yes, for sure. What's POC?
Person of color.
Ah, got it. Okay.
Yes.
I've never heard
Yes.
that never heard that before. Is that okay, I'll have to look that up more. Yeah. Yes, it is like I have a couple of questions that's coming up from you saying that. Um one of the thing that what because I resonate with that with um like the name you can or I don't know if I got it right, but like you mentioned about how when you start a podcast, like the naivety you might feel of like reaching out to some people or starting the podcast in general and thinking like how far out is this gonna be able to reach, you know? Um, yeah, how do you think about that?
Like, what was the journey with that, with like reaching out to people?
Yeah, and like how's your experience with like because I mean, I remember just a couple of the first um, podcasts I had or conversations. I was thinking, wow, am I like first I was just I was I was doing episodes by myself and I was doing episodes where I would reach out to people and then have like conversation about what they were doing, etc. Um, and what I was going to say, just like um I don't know, is this person like like, am I too big of myself to reach out to this person, or is it like
Mm.
like where am I? Where's my head going with this, or what do I think is possible with this, or yeah, all of that.
I would say just go for it. I mean, Sarah and I
Yeah,
would be just DMing people. Genuinely just
right.
on
Me too.
on Instagram. And there was one person who we reached out to, Fifi Dobson, who, if you guys don't know who Fifi Dobson is, she's a Canadian icon. Has really incredible songs like Ghost and Stuttering. Those were like very popular in 2000s, like Canadian radio. So for
Okay, yeah,
Sarah and I to reach out to Fifi Dobson was a big deal because her music
yeah,
really resonates with the queer community. But we straight up
mm,
DM'd her. We didn't hear back for a while, but we also DM a lot of people. So we were like, okay,
yeah,
we DM'd. All of a sudden, we get a reply from her where she says, that sounds great. Just reach out to this email, which was her manager.
mm,
So
yeah,
it's kind of a mix of, if you're able to find the artist, the actor, the talent's manager, I feel like that's always a good way in because you know it's getting to an inbox where the manager is looking out for these like promotional episodes or like how is this going to
yeah,
help the talent that they have, right? So
yeah,
um, either it's like through Instagram DM, really, or it'll be through
mm,
like a talent email or like the manager email if you're able to find that. And
yeah,
what with the kittens, I actually had connected with her before. So I had already known
mm,
her, so I reached out personally. But with other people, when you're like, I don't know who it is, just go for it because you honestly never
yeah,
know. You genuinely never know. Like, shoot for the stars, and maybe if they resonate with your content or they're like, yeah, I would love to. Why not? I would just say go for
yeah,
it. We have
yeah,
a hilarious story.
yeah.
Sarah and I found this really funny. You know Vanessa Carlton, the one who sings A Thousand Miles?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, like the iconic piano. Yeah.
Yeah. 1,000 miles. That's a good one. Really good
We
one.
we decided to just DM Vanessa Carlton, but she left us on red but didn't answer. But that's fine. Obviously, she probably saw it and whatever, just either wasn't interested or maybe like forgot about it. She probably gets a lot of DMs.
Okay.
But the fact that
Yeah.
she even saw it, Sarah and I were like, this is amazing. She saw our message. We were left on red by Vanessa Carlton.
Uh-huh. Yeah, that's how I feel about some of the people that I have been reaching out to, but haven't like gotten a response to, but like they're seeing my message, have been like, oh my God,
Yeah,
that's very crazy.
it's just funny.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really funny. Yeah, I back last year in um I mean, yeah, I'm also just so agree with what you're saying because you never know what the courage or what the bravery or what that like thought in your mind or can lead to. I remember some of the first I've been a big like I've played a lot of soccer my as a kid or just
Oh,
like for a lot
nice.
of years. And I reached out to a soccer player or a couple of them. Just now I'm like kind of studying, but like team players of Denmark, and just like back then, and they were like so nice and kind of just like yeah, like let's do it, let's figure something out. I was like, oh my God, that's like how,
Aw.
yeah, but that's it's also just um like for me, it's of course there's like the fan thing of it, or like the being fan, or but it's also just as you're like coming up with that it's like it's how you resonate with them, and it's being able to tell a story, share a story, resonate, and build something stronger together, build some connection together.
Yeah.
That's really like wild to see what that like can turn out to. I find it to be, yeah, yeah. It's amazing to see some of the conversations you've had.
Oh, thank you. I mean,
Uh,
even when I look back, when Sarah and I look back at some of like our interviews, I always
right.
what we sometimes try to remind ourselves of too, and even my partner's even told this to me too. She's like, don't get so in your head. Like if you're reaching out to like a megastar, don't make it so like, oh, they're too big for your platform. Like believe in your platform, right? And I think that's something that's a mindset I would also have to, I learned to really get
Yeah,
into because, at the end of the
practice.
day, like we're all human. We're all human. And
Yeah,
a lot of it too is that it's just sometimes hard to reach people with a big platform because they have different steps on how to get to them. But it's not like, oh,
yeah,
if you want
yes,
Kaylani on the podcast, don't think Kaylani wouldn't want to be on Girl on Girl. It's just a matter of how do you get those connections? And that's why I think networking and connections are everything. It's not so much the person. I'm sure they would be because at the end of the day, we're both humans who are connecting, wanting to have a beautiful conversation. And I think that's also really helped me. And also, I have a lot of faith in the podcast and have really
mm,
been proud to see it grow in that way. And mostly like the
yes,
community that
yeah.
it's brought in because it's even like I'm friends with some of these listeners who listen to Girl on Girl. Like we banter, we chat. It's
Wow.
nice.
Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, that's amazing. How big podcast we're gonna ask that? I feel like that's a very, I don't know.
Sorry, what
Um,
was the question?
like how big is your podcast? What's like, or like what's, I don't even know how to ask that. I'm just wondering. That's
Yeah.
like how many listeners you got? I think that's always something else.
I mean,
Yeah.
at this point now, it's gotten to like hundreds of thousands of listens, which has been incredible. And like
Wow. Yeah,
even
okay.
for um but more so than the listens, I think it's been like the community that has been
Yeah.
built up from it, which has just made me really happy. Like
Yeah,
the
yes.
because I've actually developed these connections with listeners of the pod who like I'll see their DM come through and we actually chat or we
Yeah.
give each other advice. And for me, like that's been really, really important, more so than like checking the listens. It's what's good is like I love to see what episodes people resonate with most,
Mm,
for sure,
yeah.
100%. Like it that like at least I know, or are they more into like a vulnerable chat? Are they more into a guest chat? And like to say, like even the numbers that I'm saying, this has been because of like years of doing it. It's not like I'm getting that on every episode. It's just as a whole because we
Mm,
started Girl on Girl in 2021, where it's at as 2025 has gained that traction. So that's been a lot of like years of putting into the podcast for sure. But I remember when we
yeah.
first
Yeah.
released, I think we had gotten uh it was like a couple hundred and we were really shocked because we're like, I wonder who's clicking on this. But I think at the end of the day, it's like
Hmm.
as you continue and we have platforms that really push your content out. And I still think queer media is like really needed. So if you ever
Yes,
think it's
for
like too
sure.
competitive, it's not. It's not. If anything, we're like, we need more. Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, yes. Yeah, that I've sometimes been thinking that like it's super a little bit competitive, but then at the same time, so I'll always find it to be that the stories of like when you're authentic and when its values are around being like sharing stories, having these deep conversations and kind of unraveling things that we kind of can't get enough of that. I feel like that's what we need.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, yeah, so I love that. Yeah, and thank you for sharing that too, because I find I'm also just like having a lot of like aha moments and learning a lot from you sharing that. As I think sometimes, I mean, I can find myself getting like in my own head, but then at the same time not. Just more it's like, wow, I'm like stoked to have this person on. Um, I reached out to this guy Andy Stern, who has co-founded the a boxing gym in New York.
Cool.
Um, yeah, I was like, what?
That's so
Like,
cool.
yeah. But also more so saying that because it's really, I think I'm more so now the last year beginning to be better at leaning into the like, how's your experience with the podcast and how's your experience with the podcast? I think the first couple of years I was probably more close-minded with that.
Mm.
So it's just really nice to hear that. So thank you for sharing that.
Of course. And like
Uh,
I sometimes get discouraged as well and in my own head. Like I think there's a it's the consistency is really important though. And I think
oh yeah,
I've been if I ever feel like a little bit out of place, because like I said, I have moments of like doubt or feelings of anxiousness that I'm,
yeah,
I think
mm,
we're human. We all like
yeah,
we all feel these things very deeply. And at the end of the day, too, I think we're our own biggest critics. But I also think like your voice matters. And for me, I was always like, if it's like one person, like literally, if I release something and one person took something away from that and they were like, I needed to hear that, that's all that matters
mm,
to me, because I would have wanted to have a platform where I could hear someone openly talking about their sexuality and the things they
yeah,
went through and also just mental health things that I go through as
yeah,
well, even now being 29. Like yeah, it's kind of like a journey. So I think even for you, when you
yeah,
look back on your podcast, it's always like it's something you did for yourself too and for others, but you can
yes,
be proud of the fact that like you went on a platform and talked so openly. That's not easy for a lot of people to do.
yeah. No, and that's the thing about it. That I realized more and more so that oh, I kind of need someone like people that has the same like because there's people with podcasting that's who I'm connected to, but then it's been like nah, that's you connect better with some people than other, and it's kind of taking me some time to I don't know just um think for connect with people that maybe has the more same values around podcasting and are more like vulnerable also about the experience of podcasting. And yeah, I just I find it really helpful also to share that here and to have that conversation here. So thank you for doing that too.
Of
Um,
course.
yeah, I feel like there's more questions coming up from me right now, but I also want to um end end the conversation and like round off. I know we are like having a time. I know you are having something you're on for too for the day. So yeah, thank you so much for coming on the podcast, coming on there too,
Of course.
and sharing your story versus and your time, your energy with us.
Thank you so much. How
Yeah.
long have you had your podcast for?
I started in my second year of high school, so that's this one. I think it was 2020 or 2021. So it's been like around the same.
Nice.
I've been kind of consistent, but also have some breaks. So
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah. Well, good for you for even to, keep it going on because you're right. It's really hard to stay consistent, and the fact that you're still doing it is amazing. And it's okay to also take breaks if you need that. to even have like a fresh start. Like always remind yourself like that's okay. But proud of you, and I'm really grateful you reached out to
Mm,
have me on.
mm.
I was really excited,
I
and
you too.
yeah,
Oh my God. Thank you.
of course.
Yeah, I mean for me with it, I think um like I don't know, I think like since I started it, it's not actually the like keeping going. Sometimes I can like really think it's more maybe like the like sometimes I'll have a break, maybe more so because I need some inspiration. But
Oh
then at
yeah.
the same time, having the podcast and doing the podcast gives me inspiration or like comes up with it all. So it's kind of a paradox with that. But yeah, thank you.
Definitely. I mean, even before Sarah, we decided Sarah was not going to be on the podcast. We actually had like a
Right.
10-month break actually for both of us to kind of like do our do our own things. And it wasn't even that intentional with like the podcast. And what I
Mm,
mean by that is just like, we were already in different cities and it was so hard for us to just jump on Zoom calls for the podcast during that duration. And we were still talking like every day though. It wasn't like we were taking a break from each other, just to reiterate. It was just the podcast. And when
right.
we jumped back on, we were like, oh my God, we haven't done Girl on Girl in 10 months. And what we did
Mm,
was we released an episode, I think it was like June of 2024, where we
right.
announced like, okay, Sarah's not going to be on it anymore for these reasons. But it was kind of like for me, I kind of took like some inspiration to like during that time off, right before I was about to start again. I was like, this is kind of important because now like I'm kind of getting inspo like now what topics am I going to talk about on my own? Like I still bring guests on in the podcast, but a lot of the podcasts I've been doing lately have been solo, and that's a whole different
Mm,
experience compared to when you had a co-host. It's so different.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. How is it for you to have the solo ones?
I actually it's kind of like a it's like an interesting relationship with the podcast. Like I
Yeah.
I like having the solo episodes because I actually find it's a good challenge for
Mm,
myself, especially because I see podcasting as
same.
being like something long term for me in terms of where I'd like to see a
Mm,
career. I've always loved
yeah.
public speaking. I went to school for radio, actually, radio and television. So,
Okay.
sorry, my cat is making so much noise in the background.
That's
Um,
okay. Wait.
So I see the solo episodes as a really good challenge to say, can you talk about something and like for almost like half an hour to an hour, can you talk straight about a certain topic? Because when you have a conversation, you bounce off of each other, right? But when you're by yourself, you're just talking to the camera. So I've appreciated
Yeah.
that because it's a good challenge for me. Um, and because
Mm,
I'm so comfortable with Sarah, it was like a no-brainer. We just chit chat all day. Of course, I miss having her perspective because it was so fun and we got into some really deep conversations and learning. But I also
mm,
think at this time in life, it is good for me to take that next step and continue. So.
right. I have a very simple question or very easy one. Are you an extrovert on introvert?
I'm a mix. I'm very a mix. I think
Okay.
what's funny is I was a very, very, very shy kid, like extremely
Okay.
shy,
Me too.
very shy up
Actually.
until my preteens. I got a little bit more extroverted, um,
Right.
especially with like being with my friends. And I think in my 20s, I was also very extroverted, but I have a shy side to me where I like to kind of spend some time alone and I get a little inward and I'm pretty calm. So I'd say I'm a mix of both, but I think I've become more introverted as I get older, for sure.
Right. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Hmm. I'm introverted. I'm an introverted person.
Yeah, I mean it's
But yeah, that's
but
interesting.
but even for you to have a podcast is pretty extroverted of you, I think.
Yes, yeah, I think too.
Yeah.
I think too. Yeah. Yes. I think I I've learned a lot about my introvertedness energy or like my that social energy throughout the podcast, which is also interesting. But yeah, yeah, that's that's a whole other journey or thing to think about.
I think like even for me too, I've been more selective with my energy as I've gotten older.
Mm.
So I think that's why maybe I would lean more into being an introvert because it's I I'm very selective of who's like around me and my circle.
Yeah, yeah,
As opposed to I think when I was in my 20s, I was very like excitable and kind of wanted to be around everybody all the time. And I just think as you get older,
yeah,
you go through some things and you listen to your gut a little bit more. And I'm just really content with where I'm at and how I feel. I also used to have a lot of FOMO when I was younger, and sometimes I have it now, but I'm a lot better at
mm,
setting boundaries of being like, you know what, if I'm tired, I'm tired. I don't want to go out. I want to have a
yeah,
night in kind of thing.
yes, yeah, yeah, the thing, yeah, yeah. It's really important to also listen to that.
Yeah,
Yes,
it's important. Listen to your body always.
yes, yes. Well, thank you, Persis. And yeah, let's make it this one for now. Um, I feel like we're gonna go on and talking much more about what we're talking about right now. But yeah, let's round it off. Thanks for
Sounds
being on the
good.
podcast.
Thank you so
Yeah.
much. I'll stop the recording now if you want.
Okay. Yeah, that's great.